Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and we are back with the film journey. And I just kind of ended on, a high note not too long ago with our good buddy, Born to Be Rad, Garrett. So I might as well, ask Mel to join along. My Killer Podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so I'm talking to two-thirds of the Rad Pack. So I was gonna say before we jump into kind of your film journey, do you want to kind of cover what you do and the Rad Pack themselves?
Yeah, I'm Mel from My Killer Podcast. I'm also one third of the Rad Pack with Garrett and Justin. We talk all things movies and nostalgia base, and it's a fun journey we are on right now. Our YouTube channel is fairly new. So if you haven't subscribed over there, yeah, go over there and do that. It's just a good time and we're just hanging out. Yep.
All that stuff, all that stuff.
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I was gonna say I know I've been following you for probably a year or so, like on and off. I've seen you in various live streams, and I've been enjoying your content on the channels. I say multiple channels. So it's been a fun, and I really love the last like Rad 9 challenge that has like blown up. Everyone is doing that, and it's been a lot of fun seeing the growth.
Yeah, no, that was super fun. We weren't really sure how that was going to go when we put it out there. We were just like, hey, let's try this and see if we can get the community involved and everybody get to know each other a little better. And it's been wonderful. So many people have participated. Thank you to everyone who has. People are participating in bunches of different ways, doing videos or Instagram images or just, straight putting their lists and comments and stuff. So it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of movies out there that touched a lot of lives.
Yeah, yeah. For better or for worse, probably, because
Yeah.
because I know this is an obsession now for all of us.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how many of the ones that you selected scared the shit out of you as a kid that like stay with you. Do you know it?
Well, my childhood was very interesting because my momster uh is a huge horror fan. And so I just kind of grew up on that. I was never like, here, I'm a Disney kid, and then I'm like, teeny bopper watching comedies. No, I was a horror kid, so I watched this stuff all the time. There's very few movies that would scare me, and my Rad 9 were movies I used to watch all the time, so I just loved them. But they weren't particularly scary movies either. I wouldn't call Killer Clowns from Outer Space a particularly scary movie.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of a lot of people who have clowns as their. Oh, sorry about that. That was my video that was just downloading. So, did you hear that at all?
No.
Okay, I'll cut that little part out or just keep it in. So
Yeah, it's
why
fine.
not?
Yeah.
But no, it was I was gonna say Killer Clowns for Outer Space. I know that and it probably scared the shit out of a lot of people
Yeah.
thinking of clowns, but apparently you were not phased.
No, I wasn't one of those clown kids, but the movies that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, like The Exorcist, like the hardcore stuff that, scares everyone. I
Right.
didn't watch those all the time. You know?
Yeah.
Like the Amityville horror was another one that I found really scary. I love it now, but and maybe it was because I watched those movies when I was a little too young.
Hmm.
But yeah, so those movies, they scared the crap out of me, but I didn't watch them very often.
Yeah. Well, that's honestly a perfect segue into like our first question, to be honest, because I know we were just talking about, your Rad 9 kind of just as you're growing up and honestly goes well with, that challenge in general for people. But, talking about those early memories, your mom is the one who you said is the one who exposed you to horror movies. Was there anyone else, or was she the one who is like, you're gonna start watching horror movies and movies in general?
Well, it wasn't really so much she was like, you're going to start watching these. She's a very interesting woman. People want me to do like a video about her or have her come on because she is such an oddity, this woman. But she was very much like, I love to watch these cheesy B horror movies. and you can watch them with me or you can go do something else, but this is what I'm doing right now. She just didn't really censor us a whole bunch. It wasn't like she would wait until we were asleep to watch horror movies. She was just like, "Oh, Night Flyer. Yes, I'm going to watch this cuz it's on." And then
Hmm.
we'd either watch it with her or we'd go do something else. But because horror movies are so fascinating to kids, of course we sat there and watched them with her. And The Stuff was one of her favorite movies of all
Great
time.
movie.
So, yeah, so I like that's kind of what spawned my love for the cheesy B horror, which I absolutely love today as well. That's one of my favorite genres, and it's all because of her.
So did she have like horror VHSs, and or like did you go to the movie store, go to the theater? Kind of what was that like at the beginning? Just
So we didn't really go to the theater that much. We were kind of a broke family, but we would go to our local VHS store. It was called Movies America. It's not there anymore, which is really sad. And then me and my brother would just run amok in there and like look at all of the VHSs, and I would either go straight to the horror or I'd go straight to the action because my dad was a big action buff. So those were the two major genres I grew up with. So I was either renting Jean-Claude Van Damme movies or I was renting horror movies. It's like, this is what's happening. But I just remember like all the VHS covers that would always intrigue me, like the Night of the Demons and Ghoulies and
hmm.
those kind of things. But my mom was big into buying VHSs too. So she had what she called a home video library.
What she called to us now, right?
Right? So yeah, she had hundreds of VHSs. She only bought ones from Movies America, when they would go on sale. And so those were the movies that we rented all the time. They would then go on sale to make room for other movies, and then she would buy them, and then those would be her movies in her movie collection. She still has a lot of them too, and I'm like clamoring to get my hands on them.
Mm.
But she's also old school, so she still has her VHS player and she still watches those VHSs.
I have someone in my family who still watches VHSs, so I understand
Yeah.
my dad. But he has
Nice.
those 6 hour tapes, the ones that you
Oh,
flip stuff
yeah.
over. Yeah.
Hmm.
But well, I was gonna say, so she had hundreds of VHSs and they're still there, right?
Hmm.
And you said your dad was watching action movies at the time, so you're watching, John Claude Van Damme movies and the like.
Hmm.
When was that like, was that the spark, I guess, for like, okay, I'm into this thing, and did it like kind of just proliferate as you were getting older into your teens and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, of course. I didn't even know what it was that we were doing. I didn't think of it as a kid that, oh, we're collecting movies. We're movie collectors. It wasn't like that for us. It was just like we wanted to own the movies that we love because we didn't have cable and we didn't we had regular television, so it would show our local TV channels and stuff, but we didn't have like any way of watching these movies on TV, and we didn't go to the movie theater, so the only way we could see them was to buy them you know so it wasn't like collecting for us. It was just like having the movies that you watch all the time so that you could watch them when you wanted to watch them, kind of thing. So that kind of affects my collecting now because I'm not a quantity collector because I just buy the movies I want to watch, and I know them and I love them. I do blind buy every once in a while, but I really try and blind buy the movies that I think I'm really gonna like. I miss a lot of time.
Well,
There are misses in there.
well, I was going to say, everyone else watching this probably in other channels are probably to blame for for pushing size. So, you know,
This is
uh,
true.
we're
Because
shilled.
it was like as I was growing up, there were like there were select titles that I would rebuy over and over again because I had them on VHS, then I bought them on DVD. I moved to college, all my movies got stolen, so I had to rebuy them all on DVD, and then I bought them all on Blu-ray, and now I'm trying to buy them on 4K. So it's like this select grouping of movies that I continuously have to buy over and over again, but now I'm buying other movies too,
Mm,
you know.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, going through that process. Did you say your movies were taken, stolen?
Yeah, so when I went to college, we didn't live in a dorm. It was like you rented apartments in real apartment buildings. And we lived in one building. I moved 3 times the 3 years that I lived there. I went to
Jeez.
school all year round to get my 4-year degree, and I had to move every year. And one of the years I lived in this, it was only like a 3-floor apartment building, but the back door opened up into like 2 other apartment buildings, and there were all these stairwells going all over the place. You could literally like crawl over our railing and get onto the railing of the next building. That's how close they were in the behind it. And we went to school and didn't even think about it and left our bathroom window open. And then when we came home, our door was open and all of our stuff was gone.
Oof. Well, hopefully not too much. Um, was
We
there?
didn't have much, but I had my movies. You know, I had my movies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least you have recovered since.
Yes, I have.
Probably not financially, but you know, uh,
We
yeah,
survived, and they were all DVDs, so I could buy them all on Blu-ray now, so I'm good.
yeah. Well, well, I mean, I guess that answers the transition from DVD to Blu-ray. But how did I guess when you were, I guess going back a little bit when you guess your family was collecting VHSs, was that kind of the like the kickstart for you collecting things? Was that like in the teenage years? Was that when like you started collecting DVDs and whatnot?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of like I said, I didn't really think in my mind, it didn't register to me that I was actually collecting. It was more just like when I was younger, my mom would buy me the VHS movies I wanted at the local movie store. And so then I already had my own little baby collection. And then I would just take those with me wherever I went. And then whenever I was at Walmart and I'd always go look at the movies. And if I saw a movie that I wanted or I knew that I would like, I would buy it. So I just always had like all of these movies that I had to like take with me everywhere. But it wasn't until later that I was like, okay, I'm clearly collecting movies.
I clearly have some kind of issue here. I don't know
Yeah, there's
what it is.
clearly something going on here.
Uh, and then now it's a full blown, obsession, I suppose.
Yeah, now it's like I'm upwards of over 1,000 movies, which I've never in my life had this many. It's never been like this. It
Is
was
it
always
always
I had like a couple hundred, and
right?
those were my 100 I would always have, of my favorites, my ride or dies. Now it's like I have 1,000 movies, and sometimes I forget what I have, and I buy movies twice.
That's why I have an app, so I don't do that. So
I got an app too. I got an app too.
we're good. We're good. Good. Because yeah, double dipping, triple dipping. I mean, a lot of people still like do it on purpose too, because obviously there's so many editions out
Yeah,
now.
which I do that as well. I have seven different versions of the Burbs. So it's like I will do that on certain movies too. I understand the mindset of it. I get it. I don't do it for everything though, because it's like I need to save my money where I can.
Yeah, you're single-handedly paying Tom Hanks for that movie.
Yeah. Yep. His career is on my back for sure. Just kidding.
Humble brag, but you know how things. So, oh man. So I guess, kind of getting to the iteration of where you're at now, in collecting, did like when did the like channel kind of you thought about it in your mind, or like when did, I guess transitioning from like Blu-rays to 4K and sharing it with like the community, when did that start about?
So it started with a podcast. I have always wanted to do a podcast. I had been thinking about it for years, and I just never really did it because I didn't think just anybody could. I didn't think anybody could just have one of those. Well, then, the same thing, the same story with everybody else. COVID happened, and then I was like, okay, well, now's the time to start a podcast. And all I wanted to do was talk about cheesy B horror movies. Because to me, living here, I'm the weirdo. Like nobody watches these movies. I can't talk about these movies with my group of friends. They don't care about movies. Like
Hmm.
they'll talk about comedies and, they'll do one-liners and conversations and stuff, but it's not like this. So I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast and I'm gonna talk about cheesy B horror movies. Uh, so I did. I have an audio podcast. There's like maybe six episodes on there, and I think it's pretty fun. But then that I was like, I wonder what else I can do with this podcast because I would record the audio, but I would also record the video. You never know. You can maybe something could happen with that. So then I was like, well, why don't I try dumping this podcast on YouTube and see what happens? So I dumped some episodes on YouTube, but then I started, clicking around on YouTube. And then I found Tony, Uncle Tony, Basement
Hmm.
Blues.
Uncle Tony.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, crap, is this what I'm doing? I was like, I have movies. I could talk about movies on YouTube. So then I started talking about movies on YouTube. And then I slowly just transitioned more into a YouTuber and then a podcaster. So now my podcast is stagnant now. Nothing has happened on it. There's the same six episodes is still on there from like 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And then there's like one little 2-minute blurb that's like, hey, I'm gonna take the summer off. I'll be right back. And then I never came back.
Well, summers can be any length of time, right? So I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
I had every intention of going back to it because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do podcasting, but I just started meeting people on YouTube, and then YouTube became more fun because when you're doing an audio podcast, you can't talk to anybody. Like you put
Right.
it out there, but you're not on Spotify talking to people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, people are just giving you reviews or however many stars, and that's about as much interaction as you get.
Yeah, you almost have to like set up another account like an Instagram and then tell people, "Hey, do you talk to me on Instagram if you want to talk to me or something like that." So it's like, well, on YouTube, like people can talk to me right there. They can ask, they can comment, they can ask me questions, they can DM me on Instagram, whatever. So it just kind of became more fun because I was actually talking to people. And then I started doing live streaming and then I was actually getting to meet people like
Hmm.
you and all the people in the community. And I was like, man, this is actually really cool. I finally found out that I'm not weird.
Well, verdict's still out there.
Yeah, we'll do a poll later and see
Yeah.
what happens
Let us know down in the comment section,
in the
everyone.
comments. Yeah.
Is Mel weird? What's the gauge here? So
Right, exactly. So it was kind of like I still hang out with my friends on a daily basis, but it's like I no longer need to try and push my
convince
movies
them.
on them because I have other people I can talk to.
We need that outlet because yeah, I agree, and I have a similar issue where I talk to most of my friends, and they see you as a movie person too, and that's
Mm.
that. I don't know if that is the case with you sometimes, but
Nobody knows about what's happening in this room. I don't even know what they would say if they saw all these movies.
so it's a
I think my
secret.
mom and my brother are the only ones that have actually seen this craziness.
Mhm. And they're well, I was gonna say that I mean they're partially responsible, right? So
Right. They understand it. They get it. My brother was like oohing and eyeing and trying to steal stuff. And I was like, get out of here.
this is mine. Start your own channel. Start your own.
Yeah.
Mhm. Man, that's I mean that's a exciting kind of trajectory to where you're at now, and like I'm glad that we're all I mean for better or for worse what COVID did, I feel like it really did open the doors for a lot of us, and so
Hmm.
in interacting with other people, because I know you had actually most recently like I think went to Kansas City too, and you met a mutual friend of ours, KB, and
Yeah.
and the RadPack themselves, and like just I don't know, like I feel like more of those are going to come up just in general with all of us, meeting
Hmm. I
meeting again.
definitely feel like those are going to be happening a lot more and they're fun. It's fun to meet everybody, and it's like something you never think is going to happen. And then when it happens, you're like, you see these people and like, it's not like they're strangers, it's like you've known them forever. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, and I mean that's at the end of the day, because I think you hit it, right on the nail on the head with the like am I the only weirdo in this town that like likes this thing? And all of us enjoy these weird things, and so
Hmm.
it's awesome because we can geek out about it,
Yeah.
all together. So how that works. So, speaking of geeking out about things, I was going to ask you kind of, I like to always ask this, but like, what are some of the films that like have stuck with you for a long time? Like some of your favorite films that you like to spotlight? I know you've already mentioned The Burbs. So,
Yeah, The Burbs is definitely my favorite movie of all time. Pretty much anything on my Rad 9 list, like The Lost Boys, Pump Up the Volume was always a big one for me, Gleaming the Cube, uh, all those movies. Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead really had an effect on me because that's kind of why I went to school for what I went to school for. Because those movies have a lot to do with fashion, and that's kind of what got me into that a little bit. Um, but yeah, those would be like some big ones.
was it so? Was all most of those kind of came about when you were younger? Like those
Yeah,
you were exposed to those?
like
Or,
preteens kind
yeah,
of thing. Yeah.
yeah. That's I mean that's the nostalgic age, right? That's when we
Yeah.
enjoy our music that happens then, and the types of movies that we liked. You know,
Yep. But I also feel like most of us are really fortunate to have been able to experience the 80s and the 90s because to me, and I've said this on other streams before, the 90s is really the last identifiable decade for me. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but like once you get into the thousands, it's like it all blends together. It all seems the same, looks the same, sounds the same, and now we're just repeating what we've done before because it was so cool and epic, you know. So I feel like I'm just really fortunate to have been able to experience some of that time, and I think that's why we all love it so much, and it's so nostalgic. Like I can't imagine, and I'm sure some people will feel this way, and I'm going to sound terrible for saying this, but I can't imagine somebody being like, "Oh yeah, the thousands, so much nostalgia there."
yeah,
Like
Outcast,
like what?
um, Britney Spears, which was in the '90s
I
as well.
mean, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But but I know what you're saying. Yeah. The only thing from maybe the '80s and '90s that could die and stay there is maybe mullets, but that's only because my dad had one. I don't know. Do you like mullets?
My dad still has one. My dad still has that
So
curly mullet.
so
I do see kids running around with them right now, though. So, I
it's
mean, even those are coming back.
even those are coming back. Oh
Yeah.
man, even the hot me, but that's totally fine. But you hit a point though. Like I think you're right about the identifiable characteristics of those decades. I mean, it's like the '80s is probably one of the most identifiable like decades out there,
Mm-hmm.
and then the '90s definitely has that too. And I mean, I was around the very early '90s is when I started, my journey in life, and
Yeah.
but like a lot of the remnants from the '80s like really carried over for
Yeah,
me.
I was gonna say the 80s really bled into the 90s for like the first several years, I would say. And then the 90s kind of took its own form with the grunge era, and then it kind of petered out a little bit at the end of the 90s. I think it was kind of
Getting
less.
darker,
Yeah.
like Fincher, like The Matrix, that kind of stuff. It was getting
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot more crime dramas in that time period, I feel like, but
Yeah.
like fun ones, and B movies too. So,
Yeah.
but anywho, yeah. So getting back to those, like I guess you're saying those favorite films. Do you have any like particular people that you follow, like actors and actresses, like or directors that have stuck with or like have discovered in the last few years?
I've never really been a person to like follow a director because there's not like one director out there where I like their whole filmography, you know what I mean? There's so many directors where I like a few of their films, and so I'm more of a movie follower. Like I have the movies that I really love and they just happen to be by these directors. So like Joe Dante is one that I really like because he does have several movies that are really important to me, like The Burbs, but also, Gremlins and Inner Space is such an amazing movie. I don't know why people don't talk about it more.
I still haven't seen it, so I'm guilty.
Oh, you should see it. Dennis Quaid is amazing in that movie. But there's also like Wes Craven. I mean, he's an obvious one. But he made so many movies that are from my childhood that I absolutely love, like Nightmare on Elm Street and People Under the Stairs and Shocker, just like these B horror movies that, really fall under my umbrella of taste. But as far as actors, Woody Harrelson is like my jam. I will watch everything that he's in. I absolutely love him. He's also a really good person, which is so nice to hear.
Yeah, pretty rare,
Because,
weirdly enough.
yeah, a lot of people have favorite actors and then they meet them and then they find out that they're just like terrible people. And that really sucks because to have somebody that you like really idolize or love and then find out they're not a good person sucks. But Woody Harrelson is definitely one of those actors I absolutely love. I love the Coreys back in the day. I love young Christian Slater. I love young Jeffrey Combs because he was in most of the B horror movies that I was watching when I was younger. So those are just a few. I don't really relate to a lot of actresses. Angelina Jolie is probably the only one that I've made it a point to see a lot of her things because I really loved her in Hackers. That was the movie that got
Oh
me
yeah.
started on her, and
Mhm.
then I just kind of like will watch all of her movies, but she's probably the only actress that I really try and keep up with. But yeah, so that would be my answer there.
Yeah. Well, those are some pretty rad people to follow. If I you can steal a word from you guys. So,
Yeah.
um, so I know I kind of glossed over this question at the beginning, but I was going to ask you kind of, it's the middle of summer right now. What are you watching at the moment? I kind of curious.
Yeah, so I'm not watching anything new, but I
Same.
started a yeah, are we ever?
I
Um
yeah.
I started a Vestron series on my channel, so I've been blowing through those movies, but I also am rewatching True Blood.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so in my 20s, I'm dating myself now. True Blood and 6 Feet Under and Dexter were like
Oh yeah.
super huge TV shows, and I loved all of them. I was watching them on TV, so you'd watch one episode and then you'd have to wait that grueling week to see what
Mm-hmm.
happens in the next one. Like, I can't believe they tortured us like
Because they put
this.
cliffhangers on everything.
Every episode,
Yeah.
literally every episode.
Yep.
It's like this is like the cruelest form of torture we used to have to go through. Um, so I haven't seen the TV show since then, and I own all of the seasons. So I'm like, I'm gonna rewatch this. And so I'm a couple seasons deep in it already. It's just kind of one of those things I throw on when I get in bed and I watch a couple episodes and then I go to sleep. God, it's still such a good show.
Yeah.
And it's a lot saucier than I remember it
Very
being.
saucy. So I remember watching it as it was happening too. And people questioning, like, because I would talk about it with my friends, and it's like, wait, so you're watching that show? And I'm like, it's like, and, that's like a very amped up version of like Vampire Diaries and Buffy. Like,
Yeah, I
but
was a
like,
big Buffy. I loved Buffy the Vampire
yeah,
Slayer, the movie and the TV show.
same,
So,
same.
yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to watch True Blood. But man, I'm like, how did they get away with showing this on TV? Oh, because it was on cable. That's why
HBO, yeah.
yeah, HBO can do whatever they want.
You're like, here, have all the nudity and blood that you can get, and how about might as well do that while they're, while they're, whatever they're doing, like,
Yeah, it's like let's sauce this up to the max. It's vampire sauce. This is what you're getting. It's like, okay.
yeah. But you're having fun going back.
Yeah, it's still so good. It's like it's to the point now where I'm like, I can't wait to watch an episode of True Blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so I feel like maybe now I should go back and watch 6 Feet Under. Did you ever watch that one?
Yes, yeah,
With
we did.
Michael C. Hall. He was also in Dexter too. Michael C.
Mm-hmm.
Hall had a good run there with a couple of really awesome TV shows. But man, that show was so freaking good. But that was the first show I remember watching, and the ending just making me so mad.
Which is a very common thing, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of shows that just don't end well because they just
Yeah.
keep going.
Well, and then Dexter, Michael C. Hall moved on to do Dexter to have like one of the most epic worst endings a TV show could ever have in the history of TV shows. Like,
Yeah. Um, the patchy beard at the end.
Oh my God. Yeah, the ending of that show was so terrible. It was so bad that they did one more season to try and fix it and they ruined it again. So I
I
hope they
haven't
just
seen it. I haven't seen it. So did you just warn me about it?
I guess I did. I bought the steel book and I was like, "Ooh, they better do something good with this." And
Hmm.
then I mean it's a good show. It's just as good. It's different. They took it to a completely different place and they're trying to wrap it up, I feel like, in a different way. And I don't know. It missed the mark for me. I wanted it to do something else. And so now
Sure.
I hope they just leave it alone.
Yeah, as I probably should, right after John Lithgow and like that couple the seasons right after that. Like that could have been it. It would have
That
been
could, yeah, that could have been pretty epic to just wrap it up there for sure.
yeah. But so you said you've been watching some guilty pleasure TV shows,
Mhm.
which are actually good. So guilty pleasure, not so much. But um and then you said you've been watching Vestron videos. So because
Yep.
yeah, nice. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I started a series on my channel where I'm just going to go through and I'm going to review all of the movies. Because the Vestron series really it falls into my wheelhouse because they put out a lot of those horror movies,
yeah, a lot of B movies. Yeah,
yeah, Reanimator and that kind of thing. And Blood Diner is one of my
Blood Diner. Oh man.
all-time favorite cheese.
I have a story with that, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my best friend, who is now in Canada because he's getting his doctorate up there, but he's loved like B movies and like, but a lot of like the science fiction like '60s, and like the claymation dinosaur movies and
Oh,
all
yeah,
sorts of like trash. Just the whole thing is like it's like wow, you can totally tell. But he loves like B horror movies as well, and he's actually probably the reason why I finally took the plunge and I'm like, you know what, this is fine. I
yeah.
like it too. Um, I took the stick out of my ass and then I was like, I'm good now. Like I can do this. So I don't
Nice.
have to watch Criterion, you know.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You got to give it a try. There's so much charm in those kind of movies, like I don't get into the sleazy movies,
Right.
but you throw a tiny creature in a movie, I am there all day.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, going back to Blood Diner, so I remember he had the DVD of it and it was like a double pack or something. And he had brought it over and we were watching it. And it was really late at one night and like maybe 11, which I know for a lot of people is not that late, but this guy likes to go to bed a little bit early. And I remember falling asleep, unfortunately, and then waking up in at the very end with all of that going on. And I'm just
Oh
like,
man.
what am I watching? Am I in a fever dream? And and it's unforgettable. And you know, um, yeah, it's something I will never forget.
Did
So
you ever go back and rewatch the whole thing?
I did. I need to get the I guess you said Vestron has it, right?
Yeah, Vestron
Yeah.
has it. It's actually a really beautiful release too.
Yeah, I need to get that. So
Yeah,
what
it's
number is
very
that?
beautiful. This is number two.
Okay, so it's hard to find with the slipcover, probably.
If I had to give you any notion, it would be to try and order them from Walmart.com because last time I checked, people were ordering them from there and still getting slips.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, so try there. Amazon is hit or miss,
Yeah, it
but
definitely.
returning them to Amazon is easy, probably easier than Walmart.com. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
Walmart's been having the slip, so if you want to try that.
Which I'm on record with Tim being not huge on slips unless it's like Vinegar Syndrome. Restaurant
Yeah.
makes sense, but like I'm not huge on it. It doesn't have to always be there. But I
Hmm.
know it's controversial. I know.
It is and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. I mean, as long as like you have the movie, I think at the end of the day, like I think we're so spoiled with it anymore that,
Hmm.
you kind of expect like special features, you expect like really great packaging. For some things, obviously you should get good packaging and good special features because like, if they're charging an arm and a leg for it, a
Yeah, I
premium
was just
price,
gonna say it's
yeah,
indicative of the price. It's
is
if
ex
you're if you're gonna charge $35 for a movie, I want top tier, you know. But the
Exactly.
best thing about Vestron is these are
They're yeah,
$11
they're very valuable. Like, you know,
and
the
they're
value
beautiful.
is easily obtainable. So, um,
Exactly.
so I guess what about like currently collecting things? Like what's like some recent pickups? Do you want to save that for your channel?
Oh no, that's fine. So movie wise or just like in general, because I'm kind of finding myself collecting more things that aren't movies.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, however you cover it.
So I've been picking up a lot more of the premium movie poster prints, which are they can get pricey. And I'm running out of wall space now.
I know that feeling.
I just finished my original first series Goosebumps books. I'm finally done with that. I got all of them. I'm super excited. I don't have all the series, but that first original run where there was like 60 some books or
Yeah.
whatever. And I wanted first prints because, you know, they went back and they revised all the artwork and several times now. Um, so I wanted that original artwork because I still had like 10 of them from my childhood. I loved the Goosebump books.
Yeah,
So I
they're
was like,
great.
I want all of these. So I finally got those
Werewolf
done.
Fever Swamp in one
Oh
piece.
yeah.
Hmm.
So then I've kind of been doing the same thing with Christopher Pike and R.L. Stein's Fear Street. So now I'm trying to pick up all those. I have a tiny little vinyl collection and I've always been big into comic books. So I have a dumb comic book collection.
I was collecting comics for a long time. Kind of tapered off in the middle of the 2010s when I kind of switched over to this a lot heavier. Um,
Hmm.
but I have most of Doctor Strange, like almost
Oh,
like
really?
yeah. So like the number one, which I know wasn't the number one because Strange Tales is when he came out. But I have the complete run of the 70s and 80s. So
Nice.
but holding them, I may or may not sell them one day. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing about comic books is sometimes if you get your hands on the ones that are worth money, they'll always be worth money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been collecting more of the newer ones now. So like R.L. Stein put out a short run of comic books, new ones. So I've been collecting those. I have a few collections of old ones. It's like when you're trying to collect the old comics, it gets tricky because they can be expensive, like I said, and they can be hard to find. So like I'm trying to track down all the original Tank Girls, um, the Evil Ernies. I'm trying to track down all of those. I would love to get my hands on that like 10 issue Lost Boys set and what was the other one? There was like there's a Friday the 13th one too that happened a long time ago. I'm trying to get my hands up, but it's like it's you can never find them and they're so expensive. But new comic books, like the new horror ones that are coming out, I've been having a good time collecting those, but it's like, man, I'm getting a lot now.
Yeah. And then we're enabling each other with these things. So
Yeah, exactly.
uh, too many things we're all collectors at heart, I think. I think that's
Hmm.
kind of where that's what I've discovered with doing this this entire thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now in Vinegar Syndrome's dropping their new line of publishing comic books and stuff, and I'm like, of course I have to pick those up.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are you on the subscriber list?
No, I'm not on the subscriber list, but I just bought the first package. It was like, it's kind of ridiculous because it's $75 for 4 comic books. That's outrageous, but I mean, it
Unless
is
you're getting
Vinegar Syndrome.
like an omnibus. Like that's the only way that would make sense. It's $75.
Yeah.
So
And then, but you know, they're sold out already. So you
oh yeah,
know, they're going to be worth money though. So it kind of justifies the price a little bit. If
sure.
you go and sell it later, you can sell it for more or whatever. I'll probably keep buying though
Yeah.
because I collect comic books. But yeah, so that's a new fun thing.
Thank you, Vinegar Syndrome. Thank you for
Yes.
taking all of our money.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like Stateside, Criterion, and Vinegar Syndrome are the ones who just take all my money so away from
Hmm.
me. So but anyway, you know, kind of going back to what we were originally covering, I guess, with some of the things. I know you had mentioned you don't really follow any like directors or anyone in particular, but would you choose somebody like to like be like a part of somebody's work in some kind of capacity, or like whether that is like on camera or behind the scenes? Like, would there be anyone you'd like to work with, kind of?
Oh, yeah. So, well, I've already mentioned Wes Craven, and I pick him because, like I said, he's made probably the most movies that I love that fall into my genre of cheesy B horror. I would love to be in one of those movies. They just look like so much fun. But I've also heard everybody just talk amazing things about him, how he
Yeah,
was
same.
such a good a director, he was such a good person. He was personable with his actors, and he was, just really good at what he did and stuff like that. Um, I appreciate John Carpenter a lot, but he was a little different on set. You know what I mean? Like, people don't praise his works like they praise Wes Craven, for being the person that he was. So I just feel
Yeah,
like it would have been a really good time to just like work with him, be in one of his weird movies like Shocker or something, just like fun.
yeah. Just let me be weird, and
Yeah.
I always do
Thank you.
this.
Yes.
I always do the superstar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, my coworker, who is well, somebody who like pretty much works right alongside me, who's a decade below me, so much younger, still
Hmm.
gets that reference, and I'm like, thank you for getting
That's
that reference.
awesome.
So at least some things from that time period have stuck with people.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't it funny the things that stand the test of time?
yeah, like some weird SNL, VHS with Will Ferrell
Yeah,
and Mary Catherine Gallagher. So
exactly. It's awesome though. That's super cool.
yeah. So Wes Craven would be somebody would you want to be in one of those weird movies with him.
Yeah, I'd want to be in one of his horror movies. I think that would just be so crazy.
Would you be in front of the camera, like as an actor there?
Yeah, I'd want to be like in the muck of it, like
Hmm.
getting the blood all over him and crawling around in the slimy stuff and or turning into a monster. That would be so cool.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a lot of fun, honestly.
Hmm.
More and more I think about it because I always ask people like what they'd want to do, and I'm like, honestly, anymore, I would do whatever, if I decided to choose like that, director or somebody, I would probably do most of the things that they would be like, yeah, do that. So I don't know, especially Wes Craven.
Hmm.
So
Right? Like
yeah,
any of the horror directors, really. Like if you're getting paid to be on set to play with, puppets and laugh and have a good time
get
and do
killed
weird
somehow, and
yeah, have like an epic death scene or something, that'd be so cool. I mean, you can talk about how cool it would be in like, a big blockbuster movie or something like that. But I mean, would it really be that cool? You're
it's
like
a lot of
doing all
pressure.
it's a lot of pressure. It's a
Yeah,
lot of like athletic work, and it's a lot of it's in front of a green screen, like throw me in a barrel of fake blood. That sounds cool.
that was the name of my band in high school. Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. No, I love it. Well, I guess this could lead to the question that I always like to ask kind of next. It's always the toughest one too, that I always like to ask. But if your life was a movie, what would you title it?
This is tough because you got to like think about who you are as a person. Um, it's also kind of easy though, because so this is just a really bad personal character trait of mine, but I also have a t-shirt that says, "That's a terrible idea. What time?" know?
Yeah,
Like I know I shouldn't do that, and that's dumb, but I'm probably gonna be there. So tell me where
I
to go.
kind of in the back of my head, I kind of like that idea. I know that's like not good, but I kind of want to do that.
Yeah, it's like at first you're like, yeah, no, that's dumb. Why would you do that? But I'm in. I'm in. But that's what the shirt said. That's a terrible idea. What time? That would probably be
What time?
the title of my movie.
What it would be in like some kind of genre, like a genre of sorts? Would it be horror?
It would probably, yeah. I mean, because I would imagine any dumb thing that you're about to do would probably lead to some bad consequences.
This is
It would
fair.
either be a dark comedy or a comedy horror of some kind, I would imagine.
No, that's a great one, and I do find it interesting that you kind of came out at like where it's like it's hard, but it's also easy
Mm,
because like if I don't know, like I feel like if people are put on the spot with it, it's like it might be difficult, but at the same time, if you know who you are and like the kind of stuff that you enjoy, like hopefully it can, it could pop up, like something like that. So I don't know.
yeah, and like I said, it's honestly a bad character trait of mine because like I do the dumbest stuff all the time.
Well, hopefully we'll save that from not in front of the camera for people, those stories that other people. But it's funny though. Thinking about just life in general. I mean that's I like to ask that question a lot of the times, but like thinking about like our lives and what this a lot of this stuff means to us. Like, I mean it's a reason I like to ask that question is because it could somehow maybe envision our like our lives in a movie of some sort, or it's like kind of the ultimate fantasy that we have, right? Because
Hmm.
almost like we love this medium as a thing, so why not be a part of it in some kind of capacity? That's how I see it.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, as we're, approaching that question, I guess, I was going to ask kind of, what has this medium meant to you, like, and the way you've, been around this, this whole thing your entire life. I mean, it kind of explains where we're at now, but I kind of like to hear what your thoughts on that are and how this has shaped who you are.
Yeah, I feel like well, and that's just it. This is who I am. It's been around in my life for so long. I can't I can't imagine being one of those people where it just kind of started for them, like later on in life. Like those are the people that interest me. It's like, why did you start doing this? Like how did you start? You know what I mean? Because like I know how I started. It really wasn't a choice of mine.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I know how it happened for me because it was just like movies have been around me since I was a baby before I even knew what they were. I was probably chewing on a VHS, when I was like crawling around in my diaper or something. It's just always been a thing for me. But yeah, the people that are in their 20s and they're like, man, I really love movies. I'm gonna start collecting. I'm gonna do this. Like, how did you do that and why? And those are the people that interest me. But for me, it's just always been there. It's always been a part of my life. I'd be more interested to know who I would be if this wasn't a thing. Like, who's that person? She's probably normal.
Yeah. Well, as the title suggested, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
he's like, "Is that a bad idea?" Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay put. I'm not gonna.
The title of her movie is I'm gonna turn in for the night. I'm gonna turn in early. I'm gonna go to bed early. That's her title. In bed early.
Personal attack. I feel like personally victimized by
I'm
Mel.
coming at you.
At least now. I mean, when I was in my 20s as well, I also learned the ways of, saying what time.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I love going to bed early now because I'm old.
Hmm. Watching your True Blood at night.
Watching my True Blood.
Hmm.
Yes. Love it. But yeah, I mean, I can't really answer that question other than just saying that this is me. I've done this my entire life. I can't imagine like what would I be doing without this? Like I wonder what other hobbies I would have. You know?
Crocheting, like water jet skiing, probably.
Right?
You
I
know,
probably would have a book collection. It's probably like instead of movies, it'd be books, I bet. It'd be premium books with
there's some of those there's stuff out there. I mean,
airbrushed spines and gold plated. Have you ever seen those books? I'm like
oh yeah,
this close to like starting that.
Folio Society, I know, does stuff like that. I think they're in the UK, but they're pretty much like a Criterion of sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like those second sight releases, those premium box releases with all the goodies on the inside. You can get books. Yeah, right. I see that drive right there.
Yeah.
You can get books that have like the paper cover has alternate artwork on the other side, and then like the hardcover part of the book has artwork, and then you open it, and then there's artwork on the inside, and then the spines are airbrushed with like all different kinds of artwork, and then like they do all different things with the font on the inside. Like it's crazy. It's
So this is gonna. I mean, if we do this in a couple of years again, this is gonna this is what's gonna happen, right? You're gonna have a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm gonna be like, I'll be in my other room with my book collection.
It'll be instead of like neon and stuff like that. It'll be like just natural daylight and just this really
There'll be
nice
plants back
plants,
there.
and nice like kind of like those white shelves with
Hmm.
different plants
With
kind of.
twinkly lights, and all my books will be color oriented, where it's like it's a rainbow. It'll start like white and go to pink and then red.
It's what I used to do with these things on my other shelf. I used to do
Oh, really?
spectrum. Yeah, I
That's
like.
cool though.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the other thing is as collectors we get we have our cool backgrounds. I love that, and I've
Hmm.
liked your aesthetic quite a bit.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I just built this silly closet and tried my best to have something visual for people to see as we're.
Yeah, no, people love to see the collection, you know.
Yeah. So, well, I guess as we're kind of approaching the end of this, what do you have for people in the audience? Like, what any final thoughts on this whole thing?
I don't really have any final thoughts. I'm super glad that I found the community and I'm on YouTube and I get to talk to people who love this stuff just as much as I do, because everybody feels the same. I feel like I've talked to so many people who don't have people like this in their real lives to talk to about their movies, but now we have each other. So this is great. It's been a real interesting ride these last couple of years.
Real interesting ride. Yeah, I like it.
Hmm.
So where can everyone follow you? I know we kind of mentioned it at the beginning, but
Yeah,
links.
you can just follow me at My Killer Podcast. I have YouTube and Instagram are my main platforms that I hang out on. But you can also follow the RadPack on YouTube, and we have an audio podcast that you can find pretty much anywhere. Just type in the RadPack. We just dropped a really amazing interview with Matthew Ryan Tobin. That one was really fun. He's a premium poster artist. He was really interesting to talk to, and we do have some very groovy things coming up here in the next couple weeks that we're going to be promoting soon.
I'm excited, and I know the YouTube audience is also excited, and also people who've been following along doing these different challenges and then just interacting in general. I think with the different content has been a lot of fun. So I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to it myself. So
Yeah, and we got Tim's challenge right now,
I
the
know
top
which I need to
25
build.
80s.
I need to build my giant pile of probably 400 movies and then knock it down to 25.
It's going to be 400 movies, I guarantee you. I wrote out my list and it was over 100 movies. I was like,
Good
no.
God. Yeah. I only have I can think of three sure movies in the top of my head that are going to be on that list, but I
Hmm.
will hold my breath. I mean, this is actually going to come out after my video probably because this will come out a week from it. But anywho, it'll be fun to see everyone's videos on that.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah. So, well, I want to say thanks for checking this out and for being here and for everyone watching this as well. I want to say thanks again. Go follow Mel on the various places down there, up there, around wherever, yeah, wherever the links are put. But I want to say thank you all so much for checking this out. Hopefully you can join in on the conversation and let us know what your thoughts on the conversation are. And also we had that scale earlier when we were talking about how weird is Mel. Let us know in the comment section down below.
I'm
Uh,
really interested in that.
yeah, so we'll have maybe a separate thing there. But anywho, I appreciate everyone checking this out. Thanks again, Mel, for joining along on the.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I hope everyone can check out all the links, comment, share, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. I'm not jonesing around.